Reef from Jimmies Flora and Fauna, and today we're going to do a DIY Ecosphere background tube. Okay, so what we need here to do an Ecosphere is you need some sand. You can use fake plants. You need cyanoacrylate to seal it and to also glue the plants to the base of the container. And then you need an Ecosphere. And then you might also want something like a base, which makes it look nicer. And then when you fill it up, you'll have a nice round base instead of just a plastic siding that you really, it's kind of unsightly. So what's cool about these is you can actually wrap these if you don't want to buy like a little box, a little wooden box or something like that, which you could paint, by the way. Black is nice. So anyways, you could actually wrap these in ribbon or in shells, which are on beads or even pearls or wooden beads, and wrap them all the way around it and keep wrapping it, and then super glue it on. And if that doesn't work and you need a little more glue, you can use silicone sealant or concrete or something to that effect. So what we're going to do is we're going to make these together, and I think we're probably going to do freshwater ones with these ones, and we're going to put cherry shrimp in there. And so anyways, we're going to use plastic plants, and we might use some live plants possibly for floating. But this is just to show you and to get us started. Alright, so here we go. Okay, so first we're going to take the plastic plants and we're going to glue them to the base of the inside of the Ecosphere, and this is going to sit inside of here like this, and then the plants will be glued to the base of it, and we're just going to use plastic plants like I said, and then go from there. So first, put this back here. We're going to take this and just use a little bit of super glue on the base and kind of push it down in there. Little globs just fine because it's going to be covered with sand. And then we're going to start gluing the plants on one at a time. You can also use a little bit more on the top part, and these might lean a little bit, but that's okay because we're going to lean them up anyways. So basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to get it to set, and then we'll kind of adjust it from there. So, and this will take just a little while, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we're going to do the next one and kind of just hold it at the base here, and then we're just going to kind of put a fair sized glob there, because remember we're going to cover it with sand, and this is just to hold it in place until we can get the next one on. So we're kind of smearing it a little bit, and then we're going to let it sit, and then so on and so forth. Another one. And actually these make really good holiday gifts as we're coming up on Christmas. So I thought it would be fun to do. I mean, like I said, you can wrap them in ribbon. You can do different colors, sand, red, whites. I prefer black because I think it looks nice, and I'm a guy, so I kind of like those things. So like I said, we're going to sit it on the side and just let it adjust, and then glue it into place, and then go from there. And we're going to go ahead and use this glob here, and then we're going to add to it. And all of these will be set up into place and more standing after we're all said and done. And then we're going to do the last one here. Just glob it up, doesn't matter, as much as you can use, and set it in place. Kind of slide it in there so it's kind of sticking, and then we're gonna let it dry. Okay, it doesn't look like much yet, but we're getting there. Alright. Okay guys, and then you take the bag of sand and you're going to want to rinse it out a little bit and let it run for a little while. The reason why you would do this is you're going to get particles in it, and they're going to kind of set and kind of cloud your water. So you're going to kind of want to flush it out a little bit and do this for, you know, about 5 or 10 minutes. And once you see that it's fine and everything seems okay, you might give it a little stir here and there, and then go from there. And this will actually make it to where the water is clearer inside of your ecosphere. So, and then we'll just go from there. Okay, and while this is drying still, what we're going to do is we're going to take the sand that we previously washed, and we're going to kind of scoop it in here. I'm sorry, I do not have a spoon on me available, so we're going to do this by hand. And we're going to scoop it into the ecosphere until we feel comfortable that we want it at a certain depth. And just keep doing that until you see how deep you would want it. Now you got to remember there's a base on this too. This base here is going to kind of obscure the sand a little bit. So you're going to want it either at the base or at least where you can see it from the base. So you might even go just a couple of, you know, millimeters or a ½ inch or quarter inch above the base. So, but you don't want to make it look strange. So, and you just keep doing this until you get it to the level that you feel is comfortable for you and that you like. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just fill it up just a little bit with water to kind of see where it settles and see how deep the sand layer is. So we can see how we want it and where it sits with the water. So you can see this is why we wash it, because we have particles that float, but these will actually sink, so it's not really an issue. And then we'll go from there. And so here you can see we have it at the base. It sits fairly well. It seems fine. And it seems like it's probably an approximate depth of what we want and what we're looking for. So now all we're doing is we're going to let this settle for a little while, and then we're going to wait for this to dry just a little bit more. So we have our base, and we have our ecosphere, we have the sand set, and we're placing the plants in the position that we want them. And then we're going to slightly slide them up. And now remember, when they're in there, they're going to slide into the ecosphere, so they're going to kind of sit against the sides a little bit. So as it begins to dry more, we'll kind of push them up a little bit so they're in a little bit more of an upward position. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to add a little bit of texture and take a little bit of sand and place it around the glue. And what this will do is it will help kind of mediate in between the glue and the plant, and it will give it a basis on which to stand. And what this will actually do is kind of help you to place the plants where you want them. And then if you have to use a little bit more glue on top, that's okay, because you're just mixing a small clump and you're kind of making like almost like a concrete base. So, and this will actually cause the plants to stand up. Okay, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so now we have everything done. We're just holding the base together, and as you can see, we have kind of a center here, and this is actually pushing the plants up, but they are glued into place. So some of the sand will fall away, and others will actually build like a particulate layer, which is sort of like, it's making like a super glue, you know, kind of rock. So basically it's cyanoacrylate, which is predominantly non-toxic. You can even use it underwater. They use it for corals. So it's safe to use. And then what we're going to do is when we add it to the container, we're going to flip it over upside down after it dries, and then we're going to place it into place, and then we'll flip the container over and we'll seal it. And we're not going to seal it without adding the animals, but we're going to show you, and then we're going to put the animals in it and then seal it, and then go from there. Okay, so now we have it in the container hanging upside down. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait a little while longer to make sure that the plants are dry. And then we're going to fill it up with a little bit more water, and then we're going to let it settle. So it's looking fairly kick-ass right now. Hope you guys like it. We'll probably turn it around here because we don't want the side seam to be seen. Oh, and I almost forgot to add, these are actually Christmas ornaments, and this is why I'm doing this, which is totally crazy of me because this is why I was doing this. This is sort of Christmas based, and these make great gifts for people for the holiday, for children. The Ecospheres can last 6 months to a year with particular shrimp. There's a species of shrimp that you can order for these Ecospheres. There's places out of Tucson, Arizona, which is strange, I know, but it's a company that actually orders their shrimp from Hawaii. They're a little 1/4 inch. I think they're a species of mysis shrimp, and they're red. And generally these species last anywhere between 6 to 8 months. And what they will do is, if you give the Ecosphere enough light without actually making it too hot, you will grow a type of bacteria or algae, and this will feed the shrimp, and then they defecate and they make like a cycle, and the cycle actually will feed the shrimp because it will create more bacteria, cyanobacteria, and this will feed the shrimp, and then they defecate, and that feeds the cyanobacteria, and then the cyanobacteria feeds the shrimp. Most people know as an algae, but it's actually a cyanobacteria. And we're just going to go ahead and let this settle for a little while, and then we're going to go from there. Alright guys, we're getting somewhere now. Totally cool. Okay guys, so now we're going to fill up the Ecosphere. And normally you would use tepid water or water that's already aged. But this is just for display purposes. I'm actually going to change the water when I put the shrimp in it. I'm going to use their water, so that way there's no shock. And we can go a little faster. And generally you want to leave at least almost 25%. And the reason why is because you want to have an oxygen exchange inside the Ecosphere. So that way it can breathe and create an ecosystem in there. Okay, so here's the plant. It's all dried now, and it looks pretty cool, I'd say. Everything's together, and all the sides will kind of push in as we put it inside of the Ecosphere. So here we are. Kind of stands out a little bit, so it might take a second. And then we push it in, push the top down, and then we're going to put the base on, which is over here. And we're not going to seal it yet, but when you put the shrimp in, you can seal it a little bit with silicone, just in case it leaks. It doesn't generally leak. The seal is actually pretty good. So we'll go from there, and then flip it over and let the sand settle. And it's kind of like a snow globe at this point. And kind of get the sand how you want it. Look how the plants are inside. And so what we're gonna do here is turn it a little bit on its side. And then kind of face it upwards. And that's it, guys. We have an Ecosphere. And what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna put the shrimp in it and then go from there and show you guys how it looks. And I'll show you it a little bit more up close so you can see it. Now you can add a little bit more water than this, but I really don't recommend it. The reason why is because of the oxygen exchange. So anyways, this is an Ecosphere. And then basically I actually have some algae already ready to go, so I'm actually going to add a couple particles from that, and I might add some live plants because they actually get cyanobacteria that grows on them, and the shrimp will eat this, and it'll eventually create a sustainable system. So that's it. And then next we'll add the shrimp. Okay guys, and for the next part, for the base of the Ecosphere, we're going to spray paint the base of it a little bit, just to kind of change the color up and see if we can make it a little bit nicer. So this is the top of the box. This here's the top of the box, and this is the bottom of the box. Generally, we would try to get all that off, but I'm not that worried about it because it's underneath. And then you would want to wait for this to dry and then flip it over and then spray paint the other side. This here, flip it over. And so what we're going to do here is actually spray paint this one black and that one brown. And this will make the base look sharper, and it'll look nicer, and it'll give it kind of a professional look, and make the Ecosphere look way nicer. And I do this all the time. I build aquariums and terrariums, and I always spray paint the stands on them to make them look nice. Make sure we give it a heavy coat so that it covers everything. And we don't really want any runoff, so we kind of got to do it a little bit slow. Okay, and that's it for the base on that side. Then I'm going to touch up this one a little bit more, just on this side here. I don't want it too thick on the bottom, but I'm not as worried about the bottom because it's actually, you know, it's just sitting there. And that should be good for now. And then we're going to let this sit for a while and then come back and check it and then flip it over and do the other side. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and spray the top part of this. And this is the lid, and I'm probably going to have to take off the little bracket. I might fill this with gravel and spray the inside to give it a nice even texture. And then the sides again to make it look nice and everything looks organized. Okay, and now the black box. Make sure we do the inside. And it's not necessary to do the inside, it just looks nicer because it gives it a nice even finish look. But it's actually going to be concealed. And then that's it, and we just wait for it to dry and then go from there. Awesome. Okay, so this part I actually used for the small Ecosphere. I used a little bit of Lemna and Lemnella, which are a type of duckweed, the smaller and the larger version. And then I also have Ludwigia, just a little piece, and I glued it to the base here. And this is just simply to, we're going to try to use a live plant for this. This will eventually need to be open, and then you have to cut back the plant a little bit. It will kind of grow around a little bit in there and then adjust. And then also with this one, we're going to do the same. We're going to use Lemna and Lemnella, duckweed. And then, of course, I had to re-glue the base to make it stronger. I used a much larger globule of super glue, or cyanoacrylate. And then we're going to go from there. Okay, so these are the Ecospheres complete. The only other thing that I would do is to add sand in here, or gravel, just around the base to cover the lower half of this, or maybe some small pebbles. And the stand looks good. And I had to use ghost shrimp instead because my cherry shrimp, we had a cold snap and they were outside in an outdoor pond and they died. So we went ahead and went with ghost shrimp. And this is mostly for display purposes. They're primarily carnivorous, so they can't eat plant matter though. So that's it, guys. This is the Ecospheres. And actually these systems can last at least a year. Alright, thanks. This is Jimmy's Flora and Fauna, and please subscribe to my channel. And thank you so much. Bye. Hey guys, Jimmy from Jimmy's Flora and Fauna. Please buy my new book. It's called DIY Do-It-Yourself Nano Reef Handbook. And I'm selling it for $23 online. You can find it on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. And or you can email me and I will be happy to send you out a copy. Alright, thanks guys. Okay guys, that's it for now. And I hope you like my video, and please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the like button. And you can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I'm under either Jimmy's Flora and Fauna or Jimmy Pearsall. Thanks guys, that's all for now.